Good morning. Welcome to First Church this morning on this very historic day. I am Mary Ellen Norman. I'm the church treasurer and standing committee member. And a very warm welcome to all of you online and in person today. Every Sunday at this time, we gather as a church community seeking to foster meaningful human connection and mutual understanding as we each experience our faith and our faith journey. And so welcome today. If you want to learn more about First Church and please see our wonderful Reverend Dr. Stephanie May at the coffee hour, or myself, or any of our members and friends here. Please take that opportunity to introduce yourself to somebody who you may not know or looks new, and share your faith stories. Today we have a couple of announcements. We are celebrating the installation of Reverend Dr. Stephanie May this afternoon. All are invited. There's information in the order of service for the details as well as online. We'd also especially like to welcome Mr. Steve May this morning, who is serving in a very special role not only today but probably every day in Reverend Stephanie's life. And so welcome, and we look forward to your collaboration. As a quick reminder, our Canvas campaign is ending this week. Nancy Olson and I are doing a little workshop after church around 12:30 in the parlor to help you learn what Realm is all about, how to make secure online payments, and maybe learn a little bit more about a fun fact of Secure 2.0 that allows you to make donations through your pre-tax 401ks, IRAs, 403bs. So in terms of reaching our pledge goal this year of $200,000. If you need help accessing the parlor, see myself or Nancy, and we can show you the secret shortcuts to get from here to there. With that, welcome today. It's a very celebratory day today. We're all very excited and wish you a happy spring.
Welcome to you in the front row. Welcome to you who just slid in the back row. Welcome to you online right now, and welcome to you who are watching the recording later. Welcome to you who have been members for decades, and welcome to you who has just arrived. Welcome to you who have given time, money, skills, and energy to this community. Welcome to you who have received gifts of care, grounding, and connection from this community. Welcome to this ancient practice of gathering with others in song, word, and spirit. Whoever you are, whatever your story, may this hour renew you for the journey of living and loving yourself and others. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit as we light our chalice and say together the words of the First Church Boston affirmation printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church as it keeps its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please take a moment now to greet one another, throwing a wave to the camera in the back for our folks online. You may remain standing as you wish to sing our opening hymn, 360, Here We Have Gathered. I just want to add, normally we have our choir with us, but we're saving them for this afternoon. But I had faith that even without the choir, we can sing out and support these great hymns. So please sing loudly, 360.
This morning's reading is by New York Times columnist David Brooks, The Essential Skills for Being Human. Over the past 4 years, I've been working on a book called How to Know a Person, The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Deeply Seen. I wanted it to be a practical book so that I would learn these skills myself and also, I hope, teach people how to understand others, how to make them feel respected, valued, and understood. I wanted to learn these skills for utilitarian reasons. If I'm going to work with someone, I don't just want to see their superficial technical abilities. I want to understand them more deeply, to know whether they are calm in a crisis, comfortable with uncertainty, or generous to colleagues. I wanted to learn these skills for moral reasons. If I can shine positive attention on others, I can help them to blossom. If I see potential in others, they may come to see potential in themselves. True understanding is one of the most generous gifts any of us can give to another. Finally, I wanted to learn these skills for reasons of national survival. We evolved to live with small bands of people like ourselves. Now we live in wonderfully diverse societies, but our social skills are inadequate for the divisions that exist. I've noticed along the way that some people are much better at seeing people than others are. In any collection of humans, there are diminishers and there are illuminators. Diminishers are so into themselves they make others feel insignificant. They stereotype and label. If they learn one thing about you, they proceed to make a series of assumptions about who you must be. Illuminators, on the other hand, have a persistent curiosity about other people. They have been trained or have trained themselves in the craft of understanding others. They know how to ask the right questions at the right times so that they can see things at least a bit from another's point of view. They shine the brightness of their care on people and make them feel bigger, respected, lit up. Illuminators are a joy to be around. A biographer of the novelist E.M. Forster wrote, "To speak with him was to be seduced by an inverse charisma, a sense of being listened to with such intensity that you had to be your most honest, sharpest, and best self. Imagine how good it would be to offer people that kind of hospitality."
I invite you, as we prepare for a moment of prayer, to take a deep breath in and out, and another in and out. Spirit of life and love, we gather here today, humbled before the wonder of sharing the world with so many others, each with their own story, each full of longing to be seen and known. We pray for each person to feel seen in their own worthiness and dignity, and for each to be known, even across differences that threaten to divide or dehumanize. We pray also for each of us that we might cultivate a spirit of generosity within, seeking to listen to others, to ask questions, to make space for the story of another. We pray too for those whose stories are filling the headlines, for those suffering hunger and harm in Gaza, for the ongoing war in Ukraine, for students protesting for peace, and for others speaking out against anti-Semitism. Amidst so much conflict and violence, we pray for pathways that disrupt not only the war, but also the hate. Entering now into a moment of stillness, may we rest in this gift of quiet safety as we pray that more may know such peace. My dad, Steve May, who you'll meet in a moment, was the church treasurer for many years when I was growing up and a deacon. And I will say that together my parents made it clear from the time I can remember there was a box of envelopes with our family name on it, to which a check was entered month after month, year after year. And I know that we don't all give in that way with checks and envelopes anymore, and yet the practice of a ritual of generosity, of choosing how to give our financial resources to institutions and causes that are meaningful to us remains as an important element of life and of this institution. So as our offering is received, as you're able, I invite you into this ritual of gratitude. Thank you.
Hi there.
We're all mic'd up?
We're all mic'd up. I think so, yeah.
Okay. He's been looking forward to this.
Well, isn't this cozy? I have, for the last few months, number of months, had the honor to come here to tell a story twice a month. And today, I'm asking you, Stephanie, and your dad to tell stories. Now, in preparation for our conversation this morning, the three of us all read David Brooks' new book, How to Know a Person, The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Seen Deeply. One of my favorite lines out of there is that he says, we don't see each other with our eyes, we see each other with our whole lives. Everything that we have, we bring to every situation. And so that is why we don't always see things quite the same way. So, Stephanie, on this morning, when you will be installed, you've already been here for 9 months. Is there anything else they don't know about you, right? So instead of asking you, Stephanie, to tell us why, what else people should know about you, I'm going to ask your dad if he would share a little story, a little something as to why and what else the folks here at First Church should know about you.
I would say it's a pleasure to be here supporting Stephanie today. I've always, she's been very special to us, and as a father of a daughter, I think many of you can understand it's very difficult to say no to things. I guess one of the things that Stephanie and I have taken different directions theologically at times, and we've had a discussion in a car one day, and she was talking about where she was going. I said, that's okay to ask God questions because he's good, big enough to ask, I think, deal with any questions you can ask. Just always be open if the answer isn't what you want to hear. And I think she has done that, and I really appreciate the ability to support her in her spiritual journey that she's taken.
That's a good answer. Wow, that was good.
I have some dirt, but I'll save that.
Part of the pledge drive this year. Oh, no. Stephanie, I loved David Brooks' description of the illuminators. Are there people who are illuminators in your life or times when you've been an illuminator that you could share?
Yeah, I like that too. It's interesting, especially today, thinking about all the colleagues and different people that are coming and friends, and you realize, like, wow, there have been all these people in my life that have drawn me forward. One of the people in particular that comes to mind is my spiritual director, Kimberly Cloutier Green, who it is magic when I go to speak with her, and she's able to just sit and listen and bring my spirit forward with the questions that she asks. And I've seen her now for 11 years, maybe. And so she's the person that comes to the top of my mind right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
One of my favorite questions. David Brooks gave a whole list of questions that people could use to start conversations with, to help people, big enough questions that allow people to take a step back and look at their lives so that people aren't necessarily in the middle of it, that they're able to take a step back. And one of the questions is, tell us about where you grew up. I'm going to ask your dad that question, and then I'm going to have a similar question for you afterwards, but yeah.
I grew up in a small rural area on a small farm and attended a small school, and the church was an important part of the livelihood. You were there 2 or 3 times a week at least, and active in the youth group, and that whole thing gave me a really positive experience in terms of my belief, and I always sought to find God. As we moved on to college, I went to a university and became involved in the evangelical group, and really had an experience of knowing God in a more personal way and finding peace, and was engaged in that for a number of years. But as time has gone on, my perception of God and that relationship has gradually gone into a much wider version of trying to understand God in a bigger realm of why he is the creator and the giver of life, why he's here, why we're here, and how we can deal with that. And I've come to a point of believing that building community is what he would like. And so that's one of the reasons I agreed to do this in this book. I think that's relationships are part of building community, healthy community that strengthens and builds us up.
And I'm going to jump in and say, so where I come into the story was the evangelical part. So I grew up, my dad was the first in your family to go to college and leave that rural area, and went into took agricultural finance, so took that background, and then, but went to college for finance and becomes working at a bank. And so I grew up in a suburb in West Michigan, attending an evangelical church, and one of the things that, even though theologically I've shifted from there, the church was always so central, you know, and we also were going 2-3 times a week. And so that relationship, that grounding in faith and family, was always important to me. And I will say the agricultural farming bit too is, some of you know that these flowers here today, I went and bought because I really like flowers, and that's both my dad's farming and my mom. And for me, the symbolism of having flowers that are rooted, and the installation invitation had a bulb on it, and we discussed that it was important that the imagery be something in the soil, and that idea that we're literally grounded in the soil and what we eat, the beauty that we enjoy, but also in the roots of where we begin.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask Stephanie, you have left you left the Midwest, you left the evangelical church, and but what's the past that you bring with you? And is there a place that you will never that you will spiritually, that is spiritually always with you? You know, David Brooks talks about in his book, he's talked about, you know, how even though he lives far away from New York, he grew up in a place, you know, down the street from his school, around the corner from where his grandfather had a store, you know, and even though he's out in the West Coast now, it's still his spiritual home. Where's that for you?
I think it's the soil, but it's also the music. So Dad's up here. I tried to convince my mom, who's a lifelong church musician, that she could also do some music today, but she declined, and that's fine. But but music.
Is it really fine, Stephanie?
No, it is fine.
Okay,
it is
all
fine,
right.
and Gigi's fine with that too. But I know. But the reason is she had some surgery, and so there's, but to me, church and life wouldn't be the same without music. And so the spirituality of music, that's why I love the old hymns, like we sang to start. There's a spirit in there that it's a through line, even when, as you use, we like to change the lyrics. I have to sometimes, when my parents have come for Christmas Eve, my mom like has everything memorized, right, for carols. And I'm like, you have to pay attention to the words because they're different. But there's that sense of the grounding and that through line and the familiar of the music, but also some of the lyrics as the theology changes. So that's one of so music, the soil, and like you said, community. You know, there's a lot of people today that do feel like they can, you know, spirituality can be an individual pursuit. And I think there's a place for that, for sure, absolutely. But also, I think there is gathering in community. I am a minister because I believe in religious community, that there is something that happens when we come together. And I know that as, you know, speaking of dirt, I'm sure that I was not always amicable about going to church twice a Sunday. And I was better than my brothers, though, most of the time. But nonetheless, the discipline of showing up in community is definitely something that's stayed with me.
The theologian H. Richard Niebuhr had this great quote. He said, when we go back and tell our life stories with honesty and compassion, we understand what we remember what we forgot, and make familiar what once seemed alien. That's about creating that space, creating that a little bit of distance to talk about and look at our lives. And in doing so, it also allows us to, sort of by better knowing ourselves, being able to be open to others in the work that we do. One of the stories, we had a Zoom conversation. Steve, you talked about the tax preparation. You work with folks who need help with their taxes. And could you talk a bit more about that and the people that you meet?
For the last 7 years, I've participated in a program that the IRS, through the support of the IRS, that we do tax preparation for seniors, for disabled, for low-income people. And probably it's been rewarding to actually do the taxes for them, but the biggest reward has been just talking with people, hearing their story, their experiences, and where they're at in life. And just, it's always an uplifting day to participate with people in conversation about their lives and how they have survived. And it's, again, a larger community. When we were first involved in the church, it was very small because you were only involved actively in a church and got to know the people there. As we went through some changes, we found ourselves more open in terms of, we find now our relationships are not only the church, but also the YMCA. It's also doing taxes with meeting people there. And that, I think, is an element of building community beyond just the church. And we have to participate in those opportunities. And I think taxes have given me the opportunity to do that.
And I want to say he did that even through COVID, where you had like crazy things where like you're like handing through like a door or something. And
We've went through a sign period where they were scanned documents we had to work from, and then we had to go to another place and pick up, and we let them set for 3 days before we could work on them, then return them back. And so I'm glad COVID's done. Less restrictive anyway.
Yeah. Stephanie, you love your camper. We all know this, right? We all know Stephanie loves camping, right? getting out and it's not just sort of like getting out, but you talked about meeting people in campsites. Tell folks a bit more about that, because I think that's just a great insight into you.
well, and actually, and I grew up camping. Speaking about where you go back, so we grew up. We had I call my dad all the time, like, Dad, what about this? What about that? So in 2020, the way I got through, one of the ways I helped me get through COVID, the lockdowns and stuff, is I literally bought myself a bubble. So I have a little tiny 15-foot teardrop trailer that has a bathroom and a kitchen and everything I need. So I literally could just bring my bubble with me everywhere. And my favorite camping friend is here with me today, Howard. Thank you. So the two of us went camping everywhere. But that went back from my comfort with that, went back from growing up as a kid camping with my brothers and my dad, towing things around, and my mom organizing everything so we had something to eat. And so for me, and even as a kid, when you're set loose in a campground, because you kind of were set, and it was the 70s, and so you're set loose at the campground and you're meeting people. But even to today, especially when I'm camping alone, people will talk to you. I mean, like, you're in the bathroom brushing your teeth, and I don't look like this, and people are like, oh, where are you from? And so you can talk. And camping is something in our country that sort of crosses a lot of different political places. I camp next to trailers with, shall we say, symbols and signs that I would not put on my vehicles. So I know I'm interacting, but all of a sudden I have a problem. I can't find this, I need a piece of firewood, whatever. And I'm like, I can just ask my neighbor. And those reminders of that you can still find these common grounds even across differences, and going cross country. I love to go out of New England to remind myself of different ways of being besides New England. So it's been important to me. And there's a lot of, my family, like I've kitsch. If you ever need to give me something kitschy, it's something with a trailer. It's people, yes. So.
Where's the sacred in that for you?
The journey that leads me to connecting with beauty, different places. Sometimes it's even, not the most interesting campsite, but you're still sitting next to a campfire with a light, or you're sitting with a friend. And also the crisscrossing with other lives in the process of being in different places and different communities. The unknown in all of it.
Yeah. And Steve, I was going to ask the same question. Where's the sacred in helping people do taxes? Or where's the sacred in taxes? Jesus talked about it a lot, but,
I think the sacred is just getting to know people and knowing their history, knowing their struggles, people who are disabled, who are surviving on limited income and basically support of Medicaid to keep them going, but yet they can have a very positive attitude. And my goal, and as I work with people, is from a spiritual standpoint, is just to lift them up. That when people leave, I would hope that they feel better than when they came in to talk to me. Normally that happens, but occasionally when people have to give money to the IRS they weren't planned on, they don't always leave in quite that good of an attitude. But it's that relationship again, just knowing people and connecting with people.
one of the opposite of the illuminator is I forgot, what is it?
Diminisher.
The diminisher, thank you. And there's so much out there to diminish people, to isolate folks from one another. Stephanie, I mentioned this the other day. Malcolm Gladwell mentions this on a podcast that he did. He said that sin is the failure to bother to care. Mm-hmm. And when we started talking, and then you said, well, indifference is the opposite of generosity. Could you talk about that a bit? Or am I stealing next week's sermon?
No.
Okay, good. All right, good.
No. Yeah. So generosity is one of the 7 values that is proposed for to define Unitarian Universalism in this bylaw revision. So generosity is the monthly theme this month, and when I decided that, I was thinking, it's we're going to be wrapping up Canvas. It seems like a good theme for March, generosity. But as I've wrestled with this theme of generosity, the more I've realized generosity of spirit is it's so much more than just money. It is taking the time to listen and to ask questions. And I'm going to get back to your question, I promise. But first I want to say, because I wanted to say this today, if nothing else, so I'm going to say it now. Part of this idea, so during COVID, when we were completely online, I had a conversation with my dad like this from Michigan about a different book. And so since he was going to be here today, I said we could do this again. But the real kernel of the beginning of this is that when I did start asking questions of God and my faith that I had grown up in, I didn't know how my parents were going to respond, right? And I remember, college breaks and also a little after college, sitting in my living room where there were 2 wingback chairs with a little table in between, and we would sit and we would just talk. And speak about who's an illuminator in my life, my dad would just ask me questions and make me feel heard, make me feel like I wasn't some kid who hadn't figured things out, but that I was my own person that was figuring out my faith. And at the same time, he wasn't coddling me. He would disagree with me, and he would speak to what he believes. And that process enabled me to both have my faith transform and stay in relationship. And that was really important to me. And so generosity of spirit that's an example to me of a generosity of spirit, of listening. Indifference is that sense of, I don't even want to give you the time or my energy or my imagination or creativity to ask you the questions, to listen to who you are. I'm just going to be indifferent to you. I'm not going to give you time. I'm not going to. So that's why I think that indifference is the opposite of generosity.
I'm going to end with one final question. Once again, one of the questions that David Brooks talked about. If we meet in another year from today, what will we be celebrating?
It's funny that you say that, because a few years ago I bought like a 5-year journal where you do like a little tiny 2-line entry every day, but then for 5 years. And a year ago tomorrow is the Sunday that I was here for candidating week. And so it feels like just the right timing to end from the beginning of that journey to that full year closes with my installation today. So a year from now, I don't know where we go now. No, I mean, I can answer that on a personal level. I think about, my partner Bill is here. We don't know where we're going to be living. We have a housing project we may or may not pursue, so where will we live from now?
Into the trailer, you mean? Or
No, that's, I have to wait till retirement till I can go full-time in the trailer. But, and we talk about that. We have visions of bigger trailers. But also, so there's that, I really have been thinking about generosity. So I've been thinking about, I hope a year from now I'm an even more generous person. So there's those personal growth things. And then as far as, the congregation goes, it's fun to see, people are like, Sunday morning before the installation, you're going to get like 15 people there. Look at all of you. This is great, And I just, that continued sense of growth here, and to me, a growth that comes from building community, building relationship, listening to each other, talking to each other, and that we grow from that space. And with my family, just continuing to, stay in relationship. We get to see each other at least once a year. My son is supposed to graduate from college in the fall, and Grandma and Grandpa have already said that they want to come back out for that. Now it's on TV, so to speak, so they have to. No, just kidding.
No pressure, no pressure.
But, and so that those ongoing commitments, of showing up for the things that matter to you, right, is what matters.
I think she stole my thunder, because the first thing I was going to say is a year from now I hope to have a grandson who has his bachelor's degree and moving on to his master's degree by then. But a year from now I hope that I'm a more generous person. I hope that I am a better listener. One of the things they talk about in the book is quite a bit being active listener, not only hearing people's words, but their emotions and the other things. And I've tried to do more of listening, not only with my ears, but my eyes. And I hope I'm doing a better job of that. One of the things that Brooks talks about is difficult conversations and confrontation. I'm an agreeable person, conscientious, and so confrontation is never easy for me. But I think confrontation is something we need to take care and do when we need to do it, but do it in a compassionate and a listening way. And that's what I tried to do with Stephanie as she grew, and because I didn't always agree with where she was going, but tried to confront her and to challenge her to think, make her own decisions. So hopefully I can do a better job of confrontation too in a year from now.
Well, right on. Thank you. This has been a blessing for me to get to know you all. I know you've got more of a conversation thing, but I also just want to thank you both and for this opportunity. Ongoing thanks to you, Stephanie, but also just for this today. And I'm going to take your microphone. We're going to go sit down and turn the rest back over.
Okay. So just in case you thought that it was just going to be the three of us, you hopefully all got a card walking in and a pencil. And so we wanted to make this a community conversation. And if you've been in the Emerson Lounge, you know that there's a bulletin board where we have a community conversation with a question. And so the idea is giving you all an opportunity to answer a question that we'll put on the community conversation bulletin board. And the question is simply, who in your life has shown generosity in making you feel known? Who in your life has shown generosity in making you feel known? If you can write their name, if you want to write a line or two about that, you don't have to put your own name down, but just who's shown generosity in listening to you? I'll give you a minute and then we'll sing our hymn. Thanks, Gigi. I just have to say, since this is the day I'm picking on my parents, like, I just have such confidence that musicians can just like play things because that's what my mom could always do, you know? So I'm very blessed to have a music director who can do those things. Thank you, Gigi. Please rise now and sing. Come sing a song with me, and I'll pick these up as you walk out at the end of the service. Please rise. 346, come sing a song with me. Please join me in saying together words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts, until we are together again. Sustained by our connections to each other and to all that is holy, let us love with abundance, welcome across difference, and work together to build a more just and equitable world for all. Amen.